Enforcer.
I believe they're called enforcers, Gordon. I sell women's shoes.
And the Stallion.
Stallion, baby! I am not what you would call a handsome man. I'll kick you in the nuts and you'll smile at me and like it. Oh, nice!
And it's time for another edition of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. The Stallion here with the Enforcer, and it's our favorite show of the year. It's the All Night Awards Live, or as some call it, anal. I legit can't get through listening to the song. I don't know why it pops me so hard, but I'm going to leave that going in the background the entire show. You think you'll make it, Joe?
How fast can we go through these awards, I guess, would be the question.
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like more sophisticated, maybe more distinguished. Should I have worn a tie?
That's right. Are you wearing a top hat? Do you have that going?
I think I should have worn a tie. Maybe look like Mr. Peanut, possibly.
Okay, like a monocle. Yeah, that would have been good.
Oh, nice word, monocle. I didn't even think about that. Well, yeah. I got to turn off because I laughed too hard. But anyway, so we just wrapped up a show a couple days ago. A lot of fanfare for that show, huh?
Yes. Wait, what's the definition of fanfare? Do we?
Want me to look it up?
Yeah, we might need to go to Webster's on that. I don't know if you got a Webster's in your stocking for Christmas this year, but
the little black dude from that show.
Oh dear God. You know what? Yes, he was on a show called Webster. There was a small African American child. Yes, there was Webster was a show. Different Strokes also with Gary Coleman was another show from the same time period.
Wait, was Webster and Gary Coleman? Wait, was that the same show?
Nope, that's
Gary
not
Coleman
the same show.
Webster?
Nope, that's two different people. Just for our non, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and blow by that. So what what are we looking at today, pal, for the All Night Awards live show?
The year in review, 2017.
2017.
God, where's the time go, buddy? The 2017 is in the books as of today. Today is 1/1/2018. Joe, what do you hope for personally in 2018?
Well, you know, I would consider 2017 to be rock bottom. So, but I say that every year. So my hope is that the following year is only, a step up from where I was the year before. That hasn't worked out yet in my 35 years on planet Earth, but I'm still holding out hope that perhaps 2018 will be a better year. So that's what I'm hoping for. How about you, pal?
That's outstanding. I asked Jimmy what he hopes for in 2018, and he said a loaded gun. So,
okay.
I mean, anything other than a loaded gun, I feel like is a step in the right direction. So, are we live on YouTube right now?
We should be streaming live on YouTube on our All Night Long Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel. Yes.
Well, it's funny you should say that because I'm on the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel, and I don't see us streaming live.
Okay. Well,
I don't even know who to blame for this. I feel like I blame myself.
I don't know. All I know is we are live. So
all right, we're live. That's what's important. We'll get that up afterwards. And so let's get to the category. We got 10 categories for you. We're not going to tell you what the categories are. We're just gonna go right into it. No hubbub, no fluff, no nothing. We're getting right to the categories. Now, let me ask you something before we get into this, because we did not look at each other's lists. Once again, I'm doing this remotely from the. What's a good name for my house, Joe?
Something with the word rock in it. Maybe like the
crack rock.
No, I don't think that's. Wow. No, I don't think so. Maybe Fraggle Rock? How about Fraggle Rock?
All right. You know what? We'll workshop that one because I don't really like Fraggle Rock. So we'll have to work on that one. Anyway, I'm
All right.
in my house. Joe's at his house, and we're doing this remotely over the internet. So we got 10 categories. Do you have a runner-up for every category, or you just have your winner is?
I have all my winners in mind, but I'm sure I could come up with other candidates or choices for different things as we go along.
Okay. I feel like I can do the same. So without further ado, let's kick off 2018 on a really awesome note. Joe, what is your most disappointing thing of 2017?
So it could be anything. It could be a wrestler. It could be any like a gimmick or anything like that. Is that what qualifies as disappointing?
Yes, because I've got like 30. So, and most of the pictures of myself. So,
No.
So, yeah, for you, let's kick it off. Most disappointing blank of the year. What do you got for me?
Well, to me, when you presented the categories to me and I was going through everything to make my choices, I guess I was geared towards a specific individual and the things that they had done during the course of the year. And for most disappointing in 2017, I decided to pick Bray Wyatt as the most disappointing. And I think it's an all-around thing with him, right? It's his gimmick, his in-ring performances, his promos are very kind of repetitive and dated by now. I just thought the year started off with him winning the WWE title at Elimination Chamber in February. And, he had a main event type match with Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And it just from there went all downhill. Like that match was pretty poor. The feud with Orton was pretty poor. And then he kind of seemed to wander aimlessly after that the rest of the year. He got moved over to Raw. He lost a lot of momentum.
Did he have syphilis for a while or something?
That sounds about right. He had some sort of illness that kept him away.
Was it meningitis, maybe?
I believe it was meningitis. Yes.
Okay.
There was his affair apparently with JoJo and the company.
Whoa! You can't just throw around a term like that.
What are you talking about?
You can't say affair. I mean, he didn't. Is that proven?
I don't know. I think his wife is divorcing him, I believe, and that was one of the reasons that was referenced as to why. But at any rate,
yeah, no, that's right. I got you.
Yeah, at any rate, I think all those things combined, like I said, the disappointing WWE title run, the bad matches with Randy Orton, bad feuds, just kind of the move to Raw didn't help him any. He just hasn't won a lot of matches, and he's a guy that I feel like a lot of people thought had a lot of potential when he came up to the main roster, and he just hasn't lived up to it. And I thought 2017, for a year when he won, the major title in the company, was really, really disappointing.
Yeah, I like how you referenced that match with Randy Orton. I forgot about that. That was like the video game match where they had like worms in the ring and that kind of stuff too.
Yep.
Yeah, that sucked. I have a 3-way tie for most disappointing of the year.
Okay.
Because I was disappointed a lot in 2017. I have, I'll just tell you. Well, the wrestler I have that's most disappointing is Bayley. I think she's had probably far and away the worst year of her WWE career. No crowd reaction. Matches are not good. Terrible storyline. She's losing clean to Alexa Bliss on TV because, I don't know. There's a lot going on. I really didn't... I thought she just had a really, really rough year all around. Now, the other tie, I would say, was Impact and 205 Live. Every year, Impact regenerates itself. Is that the thing? They kind of, and they do like a tail on an iguana. And each year, they suck. This year was a bad year for them, and Del Rio was back, and he was going to be the figurehead of the company. And then, as much as I love wrestling, I can't sit through an Impact show. And 205 Live, with so much potential from the Cruiserweight Classic, it's just a terrible show to watch. So, most disappointing of the year for me is a 3-way tie between Impact, 205 Live, and Bayley.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with all those things. I mean, unfortunately, Bayley came up to the main roster with a lot of hype and potential, and yeah, again, it was kind of a very, very disappointing year for her. And all the stuff about Impact and 205 Live is, spot on, really. I mean, I've tried to get into Impact at various points. It's hard to stick with it, and the Impact, the 205 Live has just been a disappointment from the get-go ever since the Cruiserweight Classic tournament ended. So, yeah, definitely disappointments all around there.
Okay, that's going to lead us into the breakout star of the year. I'll go first in this one. And I've got one runner-up, but for me, the breakout star of the year has to be Braun Strowman. He went from a Wyatt family member who was squashing people and was just kind of the big guy. Actually, he was a rosebud. Then he very increasingly tonight. That's unfortunate. It's awesome. Glad all the dogs are back. So Braun Strowman, as I was saying, he was a rosebud, and then he was muscle in the Wyatt family, and now he's main eventing matches and he's wrestling Brock Lesnar. He consistently gets probably the loudest crowd reaction on Raw, and I don't know. There's not much more to say about it, but everybody loves Braun Strowman. He had a great year.
Yeah, he would be my selection as well. I had him as the breakout star, for the reasons that you mentioned. And he has, I think when you look at him, in the stuff that you mentioned in the past with, the Rosebud and the Wyatt family stuff, there was rumors going around in 2016 of him potentially facing The Undertaker at that year's WrestleMania. And I remember at that point, he hadn't really broken out into a singles career yet. And everyone, myself included, was like, no way. Like, you can't have Taker in a match with this guy. Like, he can't even work. Like, we don't know anything about him, et cetera, et cetera.
Kill him. Yeah, I think we said that. We both said that, yeah.
Yeah, and so they ended up not doing it. But like a year later, if you look at 2017, I think that you can easily see that being a match, whether it's WrestleMania or not, right? Not that Taker's going to come back or not, I don't know. But if someone suggested to me that they were going to do that match, I wouldn't have any hesitations about it now. And he's had matches with Lesnar and Reigns several times. He's elevated himself to a main event level type competitor. He gets good crowd reactions. He's generally booked pretty well, not perfectly, I would say, but generally booked pretty well. So certainly this was a breakout year for him. I think he is the right choice. As far as an honorable mention or runner-up, I would actually throw in Cody Rhodes to this category, because since he left and kind of went out on the indies, he really has made a big name for himself. And not that he's been a breakout star in the ring specifically, but he's made a big name and brand for himself. And he's kind of joined up with the Young Bucks in terms of being one of the most successful independent wrestlers out there. So I would probably throw him in as a candidate for a runner-up.
Completely agree. Very similar. My runner-up for breakout star of the year was actually the villain Marty Scurll. He was been known in Japan. He wrestled in the PWG, but this year joining the Bullet Club, winning the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, and now you see Villain Club merchandise all over the place, and the guys in Hot Topic. And he's one of the most popular independent wrestlers right now. So I think Marty Scurll deserves honorable mention as well.
Cool. All right, what do we got next, pal?
We're looking at feud of the year. You kick this one off.
This was a tough one for me. I was trying to sit back and think about feuds that really stood out to me during the course of 2017, across the different promotions. And I just wanted to pick a feud that had multiple matches that were good and had good storylines behind them. So one of the feuds recently that was really, really good was the whole Aleister Black Velveteen Dream thing, but they only had one match, so I couldn't really put that in there. And I know a lot of people will probably go with the Omega Okada series, but I didn't want to go for that. I wasn't sure if you were going to do that or not. So I went in a little bit of a different direction, and I went with the Usos versus the New Day as the feud of the year, because they had several good matches in the summer and into the fall for the tag team titles on SmackDown, culminating in that Hell in a Cell match that they had, which was probably one of the better Hell in a Cell matches in recent years. So I think those guys were on multiple pay-per-view cards and SmackDown shows for several months, having really, really good matches that kind of stole the shows almost every single time. So I put Usos versus the New Day as my feud of the year.
I have no issue with that whatsoever. I actually went with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against Shane right now on SmackDown. It's something that it's tough to, with so much TV, feuds don't